I suppose I could say something.
We're only strangers. We're only strangers until we realize. This life is temporary. Life is temporary. An illusion we must fight. An illusion we must fight. Open up your eyes. Gonna be alright.
West Tigers Faithful, episode 26. I don't know what you call this on YouTube, but the title I had was Lamenting the Lack of a Third Straight Windcast. Because I am lamenting. Joe McCord, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. You know, I've done some soul searching of late, and you know what? West Tigers losing games just doesn't affect me the way it used to, Jared.
Oh, mate. I didn't think it had affected me anymore until about the 74th minute on Sunday night.
Well, you were there.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, it felt like a death. It was hard. I've spoken about it before. Like, we spooned up for 3 years in a row, and it was kind of a foregone conclusion that we would go into games and most likely lose. So with the squad that we have now and the potential that they've shown the first few weeks, I'm nervous again. I'm riding every play. So yeah, that one really hurt.
Yeah, I feel you. Like it's not like at the time that I didn't feel misery. Like it just felt like a win the whole time, didn't it? Like we felt like we are going to win that game. It was kind of like, you know, last week when you asked me what the sense in the stadium was. Like there was this, even though we were behind for a lot of the game, I still felt like we were in it. And then in that second half, like we came over the top of them for pretty much the whole half, the same way we did come over the top of Redcliffe. But those two crucial tries that, you know, Terrell May dropped over the try line, and Bull's try got called back because of the obstruction. They were our two chances to put the game away, and it would have been a very similar result to the Redcliffe game, aside from if those two tries actually had have happened.
Yeah, I agree. We may as well jump straight into it. Obviously, a 26-24 loss on Sunday night to the Warriors. And you're right. I agree. We created enough chances to put the game away, and it was ultimately execution that cost us. And in addition to those two, the Fatape kick out was one of those issues, and obviously the final chip kick with the Taruva caught that you were very quick to put up on our X.
I got some hate about that. Yeah, apparently everybody's such big fans of Taru that they make excuses for him. If that had been for Tape,
Yeah, look, Tito was incredible on a night where we lost about 130 run meters. Not having Gerald Skelton. But at the same time, it's in those moments that you need your players, or especially your leaders, and Tito is one of them to ice it. And I'm sure that one's been keeping him up at night. But I guess the most crucial thing, Mac, is that we learn from this one. That we look at these moments and we watch them as much as it hurts, and we go to ourselves. And these boys say to themselves, "We will not put ourselves in this position again. We will make sure we get this done."
yeah, and I think that there was it's probably like pretty easy coaching lesson off the back of this game, because it's the sort of game where if we did win that game, like you know, it could start to go to their heads. Like I think a little bit. It's kind of like a loss that gives Benji more coaching notes than a win would have, if that makes sense.
I get that, and that's a fair way to put it. Obviously, the team that we're going to play next week isn't probably the team that you would like to play, but yeah, I do agree. Some of the negatives might have been glossed over, and the biggest negative for mine is our defence in midfield. There was a few times where they were making line breaks, at least 30 or 40 metres out from our try line. Some from some poor defence through the middle, others with some poor defence on the edges. But ultimately, it's a collective issue, and I felt a bit of deja vu back to the Knights game where, you had guys like Dylan Lucas and James Schiller sort of breaking the game open. The Halasima try, although, again, Buller and Bird's efforts could have been better, it felt eerily similar. And we'll get to Brisbane, but they're a team that can really punish us in midfield. But we look comfortable defending our line, Mac. It's really interesting. The Niokure try, look, it wasn't good enough, but you had Sam Weller who went down, and I think Talon copped a knock there as well. Providing that our full strength line was there, we're probably okay, and we look pretty in control on our line. But again, midfield is the massive worry. Both this weekend moving forward.
Well, let's get the excuses out of the way. Excuse number one, we lost Jarrell Skelton in the lead up. Excuse number two, we lost Stewie in the pre-game. Excuse number three, Samuel Fainu got injured. Excuse number four, Taruva went off with a HIA. Excuse number five, the Warriors played outstanding in the conditions. They were completing at 90% after the first half, and we were in it. We went into the sheds equal, and we lost by 2 at the end, and we were the better team in the second half. I think that all things considered, it's about as good of a loss as you can have. Like, let's be honest. Like, if you're the West Tigers and you're the reigning Wooden Spooners 3 in a row, losing a game to a team that was coming off 2 wins, that performed that well in those conditions with that much adversity by 2 because of a couple of unfortunate, that's an improvement.
Talking about our halves, we sort of singled them out the week previous. They had some moments, but they also probably had some moments they would have liked to have forgotten. I thought this week they took a really strong step in the right direction. It's quite disappointing that Jerome isn't going to be there, but it felt like for me that they were finally beginning to work each other out.
I agree. Like in our conversation immediately after the game, I think we both sort of had a quick chat about Jerome and thought that he was a little bit more involved. He was a little bit more assertive. He made a few real good captain's plays, mostly in defense. But then I looked at the stats and 3 runs for 10 meters. So I still think that he hasn't found the balance of who Jerome Luai needs to be for the West Tigers to win. I think he's too passive. He's relying too much on other players. He's shuffling the ball onto Galvin too much. He's not running. I want to see him run.
Yeah, I agree, and that will allow the game to open up for him. And that's something that Marshall probably needs to push. I know that he's one of these guys that says, look, let's worry about a defence first and the attack will come. But I agree. In order for that left edge to begin to create points like we always hoped that they would have, it starts with him, moving straight first and looking to run as opposed to passing. But in saying that, look, I've still got my issues with Galvin on second phase. I think he's doing the wrong things. And again, we've spoken about it. I think he's still got a lot of schoolboy tendencies and I think he'll grow out of it. But when it comes to, our structured sets and our well-timed backline movements, he looks beautiful. Some of the pass he laid on for Seafarth, the double pump, played nice and square and straight to set up Tawa's try was phenomenal. And then that kick for Fatape was just gorgeous.
Yeah, the subtleties will come with Lachlan. He's obviously a very high-effort player, very fit player, is involved a lot. So he's going to receive a lot more second phase chances than other players just simply because he's putting himself in the frame. He's not quick on the feet. So he's taking those second phase chances and running across the field, crabbing around. He needs to stop. I think that him being there to collect so much second phase is a strong thing. He just needs to simplify his decision-making process off the back of it. You're 100% correct. In structure, he's making some great decisions. The pass that he put on last week to unlock Sam Weller, this week to unlock Alex, there's very good signs, and obviously we're going to talk about Lachlan's value to the team shortly.
Yeah, we will. The other guy who is, the alternative to Lachlan at 6 came on at 13 on short notice and looked phenomenal. Latu Finu.
Yeah, he had a great game, didn't he? I'm really glad to see that because it's very timely for him to put that on display, to put that performance together in the week where the media starts, talking about Lachlan Galvin's contract and how important that it is for us to like re-sign him and put a really strong offer to him.
Yep.
Now we kind of have like an argument to say, well, you know what? How important is he really? Like, was Latu really that far off what Lachlan can produce?
Well, that's it. And Latu, you talk about subtleties to Lachlan's game. Latu has the subtlety. It's the shake of the head. It's the look inside, turn outside. It's the square up at the line and then move and then turn your hips.
And he's faster.
Oh, and he's quicker and he's straight off the mark, and that's it creates opportunities like the one he scored off. I love the kid. He is like he just continues to endear himself to me, and 11 tackles, none missed in the middle for a kid that size and that age, playing out of position speaks to his talent on both sides of the ball. I don't know what we do from here. I would really, really like to see us try and find the right rotation. Similar to what the Dogs do with Haywood Mann and Jane and Salmon, and do that with Bird Twile and Latu. I'd really, really like to see that come together because, as Benji said, he's too good to be playing reserve grade, and quite frankly, I think you've said it before. He's just not getting the reps required, and the things aren't going right, in that team, as we'll get to later.
Yeah, it's just a shame that we were unable to finally get over that 3-win hurdle, and just like the West Tigers trying to string 3 wins together, chasing invoices shouldn't be this hard. That's why there's Pinch, the payment platform that actually gets you paid on time. No more follow-ups, no more accidental late payments, just money in the bank while you focus on more important things like yelling at the ref. Whether you're a tradie, chippy, or even a club in permanent rebuild, Pinch automates it all. Try it out because getting paid shouldn't feel like a Tigers comeback attempt.
That was probably the best transition you have ever handled, ever. Well done. You discussed yelling at the ref. Do you want to talk about the referee or?
Yeah, why not? Look, the standards of refereeing in the NRL are terrible. You know my stance on this. I think it's not just the NRL; it's rugby league in general. I think the game is broken. Coming off the back of that game, Annesley comes out and says, "Oh, actually, we should have sin binned everyone, and we're about to sin bin the crap out of everyone." So I'm really looking forward to the rest of this season being ruined by constant sin bins. The sin bin, I understand they want to they need to actually penalise players for the discretions that they want to stamp out of the game.
Yep.
But the sin bin is so influential on the outcome of a game, especially for struggling teams, that it can't be used. It's too punitive. Like, if they want to use the sin bin to stamp things out of the game, they need to reintroduce the 5-minute bin. Because 10 minutes off the field is far too long. 1/8 of a game is far too long just to make a point. Especially because they're going to sin bin players. Like, I am under the impression that in this new refinement of the shoulder to the head rule, Alex Seafarth probably would have been sin binned.
Oh, Alex Seafarth, if he's not sin bin within the first 5 minutes on Saturday, I'll sleep on the moon.
What I mean though is like that where Chauncey headbutted Alex. Like, let's not yes, Jerome initiated the contact. It was unfortunate. I don't think he meant to hurt the guy. It was just like it was silly, but Alex didn't. Alex was moving backwards, did not move. There was no jarring up of the shoulder. Chauncey headbutted his shoulder. If that got Alex sin binned, the game ends there. We're talking like Tigers fans are gonna be booing and throwing shit at the ref as he comes off the field after that game. So, okay, what's Alex supposed to do there? Maybe, they're trying to push the burden of care, the onus onto the defender to get the shoulder out of the way, even when the attacker's like coming in and like falling into a tackle or whatever. Fine, don't penalize them with a 10-minute bin, man. You're gonna ruin the game. It's so silly, and I'm really growing tired of the I feel sorry for the refs because the game is unmanageable. Like the rules that they're trying to implement, the standard that they're trying to hold the refs to on the field is so difficult for them to actually manage in the running of the game that it makes their job impossible. They might as well literally just have the whole game refereed by the bunker if they're going to make it this hard.
Yeah. Look, rugby league is not a black and white game. No two tackles are the same. It makes it incredibly hard to officiate. And you're right. These crackdowns do nothing. They never follow through on them, and they're a scattergun approach. So with that, I agree. Talking about Sunday, look, Chance did what we would like our players to do, and he saw the opportunity, and he went down and he ensured that replay was pasted onto the screen. And it's unfortunate, but these are the rules, and life goes on. But on the flip side, we also stood to benefit from the fact that we kept Jerome Luai on the field when, quite frankly, he probably should have been put in the bin. Now again, 5-10 minutes, they need to get the balance right, but it's one of those things. One thing that I did find really difficult was the fact that I think that Wyatt struggled with controlling the ruck and policing the ruck, and that's always going to happen with one referee, albeit an inexperienced one. But I thought that there was enough there from New Zealand to constitute a binning early. Don't get me wrong; they were on top of us and making dominant tackles, but some of the work that they were doing on zero and first tackle was quite frankly a bit ridiculous. Now, you can make the argument that the Tigers need to do the exact same thing, but at the same time, it felt like to me that the Warriors were really, really taking the piss a little bit. That said, I will never blame the referee for the cause of a result. We created plenty of opportunities, and quite frankly, the game was there for the taking. And if Terrell doesn't knock that ball on, or if Stafford Toa hits outside shoulder as opposed to inside shoulder, we've got a third straight win cast. So these are fine margins.
Yeah, it would have been such a good win too. I think it should. I'm really trying hard to stop saying and a lot. So if I'm coming across like I'm pausing a lot, it's because I'm consciously trying to not sound like a valley girl.
No respect. That's something that I really need to do myself. So well done.
I'm failing because I keep catching myself do it. What was I saying? The fine line between winning and losing. If we won that game, it would have been euphoria, and we would have been wrapped in the team's effort. And those little one or two complete stuff ups, Fartape towing it through, and this, that, and the other would have mattered. Fuck all. It would have been like, those things happen, but it's a loss, so that's all that matters. It doesn't. It does just because the result changes doesn't mean that how we should feel about those incidental moments should change. The team played well. The team played good enough to win. The Warriors played fantastic. The Warriors are probably not a top 4 team. So the fact that we didn't win the game, the fact that the game was close, the fact that the Warriors were better than us for the first half shows us where we're at. Temperature check game. We're not a top 8 team yet. We would have won that game if we were a top 8 team. We would have definitely won that game if we were a top 4 team. However, the fact that we were the better team in the second half, we came over the top of them, we weathered the storm, we played okay in the conditions, and it was there to win. And we didn't play very well for 80 minutes and still were there, means that there's a top 8 team in there. So there's lots to look forward to, and there's a lot to work on. But there's a lot that can change between now and the end of the season, and this group's got what it takes. They've got players in the group that want to win desperately, that haven't won in a long time, some that have won very recently that are going to be able to show those ones that haven't won in a long time, if ever, how to do so. We just need to be patient as fans.
Yeah, I agree with you there. There's a lot that they can take out of it, but it is very much how they respond. We were 2-1 last year. We then went on to lose something absurd like 9 or 10 straight.
I'm excited about the fact that we're coming up against the Broncos. Honestly, I'm not worried about it. I very much doubt Benji's losing sleep over it. I think he's probably wrapped that, because we've played 4 teams that, frankly, we haven't played any of the competition heavyweights yet. So we're 2-2 coming into our first matchup that, like, on paper, we have been given no chance against. This is the first time that we've got, the Broncos are at $1.15. It's a real acid test. And I know I've been very optimistic all season. I frankly see enough holes in them. And I see enough evidence based on the way that we play to say that this game could go either one way or the other. But it's winnable, right? It could either go one way. Our approach to the early game has been so bad that the Broncos can just come out and just write us off. And if we go down 24-0 after 30 or something like this, we haven't seen that in this side yet, this version of the Tigers. We haven't seen that yet. So we don't know how they're going to respond to such a thing. But if the Broncos, on the flip side, we've seen if teams hang in there with the Broncos in that first 20 minutes and they start to push the passes and, balls go to ground and things like this, they can lose. They're there to be beaten by a team that hang in the fight with them and that come home strong. And that's the type of team that we are. Everything comes down to the first 20 minutes in this game.
Good call. They start fast. They are brutal, and they kick the corners and they kick chase hard, and they are fast, and there is individual quality everywhere. Look, I agree.
They're mentally weak.
I'll get to that. So I agree. I think that the Donkeys are good. I don't think that they're that good. I don't think they're as good as I was probably previewing at the beginning of the year. They might get there, but right now, there's moments that you sort of see where, they look a bit fragile. And Redcliffe, who we beat in the end, pretty well, were able to, weather a bit of the storm and were right there in the game. And if the touch judge actually did their job and ruled a 40-20 for Isaiah Katoa when Cobbo had his foot out, that the complexion of that game changes completely. Now, you're right. Canberra just hung in there and hung in there and hung in there and came home with a wet sail. That is going to be the most important thing for us. We have not started games well at all. At all. The only exception being against Newcastle. Against Parramatta, we were hopeless. Against Redcliffe, we allowed them to skip out to 18-6. And last week against the Warriors, quite frankly, they had all the running, and it was miraculous that we got it to 6-6.
But we did hang in there in the first part of the game against the Warriors better than we did in the previous two. Like we were I think we were nowhere near as bad as in the first 30 minutes as we were in the first 30 against Para. The Warriors didn't get on top of us the same way that the Dolphins did. But there's something wrong with the start. Like physically, other teams get on top of us out the gates. And you could trace that all the way back to Spoon Bowl, because Parramatta did that. They came out of the blocks and they just blew us away really quickly. Just looking at the Broncos team, I think that the biggest threat here for them would be that their defense is questionable. Their defense in the centers is questionable. Cobbo, Staggs, Shibasaki, Arthurs. It's not a defensive backline. Reece Walsh, he's a fantastic player. Suspect under the high ball. Suspect when it comes to cleaning up short kicks through the line. Ben Hunt and Reynolds, smallish halves, but Ben Hunt's a pretty good defender, and so is Reynolds for their size. But again, from 1 to 7, they're defensively fragile. If we go back to the game plan that I thought we should have implemented against the Knights, and then coming out of that game, Benji sort of said that he felt like he made them a little bit too conservative. We didn't actually try to put points on them. I feel like that's what's going to happen here. I feel like that we're going to try to beat them with attack this time. I know I said that about the Knights game, but based on the aftermath of it, I feel like that's what's going to happen. I don't think that it makes sense for Benji to come out with a game plan of just trying to like win with defense against a team this good in attack who are actually defensively fragile. The only way we're going to beat them is with attack, I think.
Yeah, and I think he has to get the preparation right. The last time that Galvin and Latu lined up in the halves together, and we had a very, very young side that day and a lot of players out, we had 60 points put on us. And I have to be realistic. If the Broncos get a roll on, that is a very, very possible scenario. He has to get this week right. I'm pretty sure they're actually already up in Brisbane. So I think they understand the magnitude of this game. But again, with young halves, there needs to be clear direction and directive to start fast, as you mentioned, and to try and fight fire with fire and attack. But they have to defend for their lives. And for that reason, I am leaning towards a loss this week, as you can probably tell. The individual quality of Brisbane, to a man, they're a very, very classy team. But as you say, they need to get the balance right in the middle because otherwise we're going to be overrun early. I cannot wait to see May v Haas. That obviously goes without saying. But Fanua Bole and Alex Twal are going to have to match their opposites in Patrick Carrigan and Kobe Hetherington if we are any chance of staying with them for the first 20.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's fair to say that the Tigers are way underdogs here. I'm being very pragmatic when I say that I can see ways they can win. I can see ways they can win, but tipping them would be, just being a homer. Like Luke Lolali'i making his first appearance for the year straight in after one match in reserve grade. Big call, a lot of pressure on the kid. Last time we saw him in first grade, he had a bit of a bad game, and obviously Jerome's out. I thought Skelton was only supposed to be out for 1 week, so it's disappointing that he's out again. Must suck to be Solomon Fatape to lose his spots to Luke Lolali'i straight away. Yeah, I think it'd be a tremendous result if we kept it close. It would be one of the greatest wins in the history of the club if we won. I just think it's possible. I can see ways to win the game. I can see fragility in Brisbane, and I'm gonna be there. So I haven't seen us lose yet in person this year.
Well, hopefully the streak continues. Adam Dewey's back on the side despite his groin twinge. That's a storyline to watch through the week. As is Samuel Fainu. 2 weeks in a row, he's come off with injuries. Nico, I think it was, on the sideline for Fox Sports, said that he was actually on the bike and wanted to get back on the field.
Yeah, he was. I saw it.
But most tellingly, we have Ruben Porter and Tony Suka on the extended bench. Obviously 2 back rowers. Normally it's only Suka. So I think they are worried about him, it must be said. I'm really, really curious to see what happens there. What's your contingency plan should we Samuela drop out of the side? Are you putting Jack Bird in the back row and bringing up, I don't know, hypothetically Kit or Suka or Porter? What are you doing?
Probably Sione into the back row. Sione relieved him at back row on the weekend and played really, really well, I thought.
You think so?
I thought so, yeah. I liked Sione in the back row. He was very involved. He felt more involved than Samuela to me. He's a very good defender. Jack Bird in the back row, maybe. I think Jack Bird's been training mostly in the middle.
Yeah.
And putting him on an edge, I don't know. It's not like the edge is where the Broncos have advantages. The Broncos' advantages are 100% through the middle. So, I'm not super fussed in terms of like whether it's Bird or Fainu that comes into the side for Samuela. Oh jeez, none of the names on the extended bench are filling me with too much confidence. So I don't know. It might be one where you do play Bird and then you just bring in another type of utility like Heath instead.
Yeah, you're right. It's slim pickings to the point where they really need to go shopping.
Tony Suka, I'm sorry to say, like, the fact that he's on the extended bench says everything about our depth right now. I don't. I'd really like to know. We got somebody in the chat talking about Jacob Laban and things like that. It's about what I was about to talk about. I don't know what we're doing right now in terms of filling this 2025 top 30, but we're currently playing with 27 players on the roster. So, like, we're really limiting ourselves right now when it comes to top 30. I know Richo is probably sitting back and waiting for that inevitable, mid-year agitation, or like, team that's on the skid decides to start letting players go type situation. But it's round 5 now. We've got to fill our roster so that we can start winning some games. There are some players running around in New South Wales Cup at other clubs that would probably walk into our top 17 right now, especially at places like Parramatta. So I'm like potentially going to Parramatta and saying we'll take Ryan Madison's salary on until the end of the year or something like that. I know Tigers fans have a checkered history with a guy like Ryan Madison, but if we've got Tony Sukar in our top 22, you take Ryan Madison every day of the week, or you're kidding yourself.
I don't disagree. I'd find it very, very hard to deal with. I do like Charlie's shout at Jacob Laban. That's a good one, and there's stacks of back rowers in that Warriors squad. It looks like he's not too far away because he's like 18th man. But with Waimunga and Halasima on the bench, Niokore and Capewell starting, he's realistically third or fourth drop.
But
So
I think you also have to be sorry to interrupt you, mate. I think you have to be realistic about what teams are going to be willing to part ways with players this year so they can front load players from next year.
true.
And what players are viewed by the clubs that they're at right now as not likely to be there long term, right? So that's why I'm looking at like Para, because Para are going to be fully committed to hitting the market hard, and they'll want to build their salary cap war chest so that they can actually hit the market pretty hard. You wouldn't want to help them out too much though, because they're going to try to get Galvin, obviously. But I'm just having a look around. Trey Mooney's on the extended bench at the Raiders. Pasami Sulo is a good player. Even Jed Stewart's on their extended bench. He's a good young player. Who else we got? Jesse Colquhoun at the Sharks. He's played some first grade. Billy Burns has played some first grade. These are all guys I'm just looking at that are on extended benches. Thomas McKaylee, bring him back. Zach Labour. Tom McKaylee had a pretty good stint in the UK. So I don't know. Like sometimes you see these players that when they come out real young in the NRL, they don't really have the right mental approach to the game, and they can figure it out a little bit later on. Just saying, there's names, there's enough of them. I
Keep
think
in mind that we need back rowers, and yeah, you're right. It's a modest market. I'm really not sure what Richardson's going to be able to pull out immediately.
you just want to go to clubs that are struggling. So that's what like I'm looking at the Roosters. Billy Smith's on their extended bench. If that's not a dude who needs a change of scenery. I've not ever seen somebody who needs a change of scenery, and that club needs a rebuild. Billy, I know we need back rows, but we need centers as well. Like if we're playing Luke Lolaliti at wing, that means we've only suffered one injury, Jarrell Skelton, and we're already playing 18-year-old Luke Lolaliti. He's not even 19 yet, is he? No, he's still 18. No, yeah, he is. He only turned 18 in like June last year.
Yeah. You're right.
So he's still 18, and he's first cab off the rank. We've got 3 spots. Like I'm saying I'm sending out the bat signal, Richo. Like get this stuff done. Like don't wait too much longer. We need support.
I think he's doing what he usually does, and he's waiting.
Waiting,
I
yeah.
think he's 6 weeks, and then he'll try and pick some stuff up. We got some shouts in the chat, Jacko.
We got a
Keep
few.
his tiger claws off Jacob Laban. I need him to stay with the Wars. Well, mate, I'm sure you do, but we would very much like him. Thanks, Eshkio, saying that he hopes we keep Galvin. Hopefully, he's not hoping that Latu goes across the ditch.
We got so many Waaaaah fans in the chat.
Yeah, we do. Well, from my time at Levels, the Warriors fans are very, very engaged podcast listeners.
No, I'll tell you at the start of the episode, you asked me what I made the name on YouTube. It's just Waaaaah.
That would do it. Tamari Martin on the outer at the Warriors as well. I would love to see him come home, Jacko, but I'm not too sure. I think he'll go to Super League and he will carve up there.
FPO's trying to offload Rocco Berry to
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I'd take Rocco. I'd take Rocco. Thanks.
Which one of them? Which one of those? It was Cozzy, right? That went through the whole side and scored a try.
No, that was Halasima.
No, in the first half. The first try.
No, that was Adam Pompey.
Oh, Pompey. Yeah, no, we'll have him.
Maverick Geyer and Hassett at Penrith are both great shouts, Charlie. I wouldn't disagree with either. Hassett's
I like Hassett
very, very well this year. We have gotten way off track. Look, Broncos. Look, it's a very, very inexperienced halves pairing this week. The youngest ever versus the oldest. I'm really, really worried about our long kicking game to the point where I would anticipate Adam Dewey actually does some kicking. That wouldn't surprise me. But we are going to have to be perfect. I mean, inch perfect. Win every moment, win every collision, fight for everything, scrap for everything, take our chances. And for that reason, coupled with the fact that Jerome Luai is not going to be there, I just don't think perfection can be achieved. That said, this side works very, very hard. They are a very uncharacteristic West Tigers team. And by God, as you said, if we win, it is one of the greatest victories in our short history. Anything else to add?
No.
Beautiful. Score prediction.
I don't like to make predictions when I think we're going to lose. I think. Look, I'm going to say 28 to 16 to the Broncos. I reckon it'll be like 24-0 halftime and we'll win the second half.
Yeah, okay. All right. I was thinking sort of a late try or two for the Donkeys at the death. I'll say I reckon it'll be about 16 each, and they'll probably go on to score 2.
Oh, so you have us in the game till late? Okay, yeah, no, I'm thinking the Broncos will get on top of us and they'll clock off and we'll sort of come back, but too late. That's my prediction.
I was going to transition, but we probably didn't wrap up the Broncos preview properly. You mentioned that we have 27 spots. One of the reasons for that is that Justin Olam was officially medically retired after we filmed last week's episode. On behalf of the entire West Tigers faithful, congratulations, Justin, on a wonderful career. Extremely disappointed, to see his career end this way, and he's one of the game's great cold heroes. And for me, it's I really, really enjoyed watching Justin in a West Tigers jersey and in a Melbourne jersey. But to see this PNG side, start in a couple of years without him, I guess hurts a little bit as well. But it was a nice send-off from the club. The video was a nice touch, and I'm hopefully can stay involved with the club, in an off-field capacity at least for the next couple of years.
I read something a while ago. I can't remember the source, but it was before this medical retirement thing started to even hit the mainstream media that Justin Olam's already essentially got the role of head of football for the PNG franchise. I'm not joking.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, no, I think it was good mail. I'm pretty sure that's the situation. I think that he'll be the inspirational face of that franchise, even if he's not going to be a player.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. He's the most iconic Papuan player ever, so it makes a lot of sense.
Who are these Warriors fans, man? Are these two guys podcasters themselves or something? It's like Esh and Jacko Waaaah's podcast. If you're not podcasters, boys, get together and make one.
They're definitely bouncing off each other. There's a bit of chemistry there in the comments.
Yeah, I think they know each other.
All right, we may as well cut to the chase. Danny Weidler last night on 100% footy. I'd already gone to bed. Um, uh, Reported that Lachlan Galvin has been formally offered a contract by the West Tigers. 5 years, $5 million. Now, we don't know when it starts. I don't know if it starts in 26 or if it's an immediate upgrade and extension on the back of that. Effectively, it's going to be around 2029, 2030. It would expire should he say yes. Let's just talk value. Do you think it is fair value? Is it unders? Is it overs? What do you think?
I think that it's depends on whether it's $1 million each year or whether it ramps up. I think that it's a contract that we probably are extending to him and want him to sign as much for the optics as anything, because if we lose Galvin, the butterfly effect, the ripple effect of that on the team culture, camaraderie, other players that came up with him, media talk, fan sentiment is not good, right? So locking him away on $1 million, while it's going to create some rhetoric, if he does say yes, it's going to create some rhetoric in the media about overpaid, desperation, this, that, the other. Everybody knows he was going to get $1 million. We've talked about this. Parramatta in the market. Everybody knew, man. He was just going to get $1 million. So for us to get him, it's what it costs. It's market value. Is he as a player worth that? It's hard to say. I think no. Right now, no. If he stays 6, if he continues to develop as a 6 and he remains a 6, yes. I'm not seeing in him in these first 4 rounds what a lot of the other fans that I talk to seem to be seeing. Everybody's so hyper fixated on his negatives, on the problems that are happening, and forgetting that he's still in his second year and he's a teenager. Like, there's so much improvement to come for Lachlan Galvin. The best version of Lachlan Galvin is still 5 years away, right? So, like, I still think that he's a supreme talent. I know that football minds like Phil Gould still, I don't think that they've walked back any of their comments about what they think that he is going to be as a player. What makes him so good, he's showing. The things that are potentially downsides to his play, it's just all from trying too hard. Like, it's nothing in his skills. Like, he almost won them the game at the death with that chip to Taruva. Like, as a 19-year-old 6, Taruva throws that pass on the inside to Toa. Toa probably scores. I know Metcalf's coming across in cover, but like, I reckon Toa would have got to the corner. Then we're looking at Lachlan Galvin chip kick, 79th minute, wins the game for the West Tigers at Campbelltown. That's the player that he is. He did that. He put that kick in, landed it on his chest. So that's the player that he is.
Okay, couple of things. I think I completely agree with you. People are focusing too much on his negatives. It's early in his second season. He has another halves partner, one that he is still getting used to. He's figuring out his role in the team. And he's now having to deal with the fact that teams are now doing video on him. And they understand what he might do in certain situations. And that's why you're seeing in second phase, when he looks to play open side, they sort of come in and push up a little bit and they force him to go back inside because he's not really that running threat and broken play that other players with speed and a bit more guile can be. But you're absolutely right. And as we spoke about earlier, he looks phenomenal on attacking shapes, and that chip kick was gorgeous. And he has this clutch gene where it's like he has that amazing knack that the great players do where they just forget what they did before. James Maloney, Billy Slater, they were like that. It was like, I can't remember what I did 2 minutes ago. What did I do again? Throw a fucking intercept? I don't care. I'm going to throw the ball again.
Yeah.
And he does that. Yeah. And there is only, again, I just spoke about 2 of the greatest players in the modern era. Only a very, very select few amount of players have that. Yeah. Now, we can talk about the amount of money till the cows come home. Put it this way. Dylan Brown and Gavin Orr completely ruin the market, okay? Supply and demand, the halves in the NRL, let's face it, they're an aging population. A lot of them within the next 3 years are going to be gone. There's two teams that are coming into the competition within the next 5 years. There will be more than that as time goes on. There's going to be another TV deal, and the salary cap will only go up. Providing that we don't ratchet Galvin's deal at 10% of the cap, I think $5 million for 5 years does make sense down the line. Providing that he continues down this same development path. Now, I don't want to look. We'll talk about Latu and Galvin transitioning to the back row or lock if and when he re-signs with the club. But right now, for West Tigers, I think you have to offer that contract, and they are doing the right thing.
Yeah.
By offering it 7 months before he goes to free agency. Because that's how long we have. It's April 1 today. We've got 7 months. We have our draw cards, okay? We can offer him an extension and an upgrade right now. No other club can do that. We have the money to effectively set up his grandkids right now. Other clubs cannot do that until 2027, okay? His mates are here. He's an important part of this club. He doesn't have to relocate. He can continue to live near his family. These are draw cards, and we are a club on the up, and we want to build around him. We are giving this kid, who is still a teenager, money that was insurmountable years ago. But what I was told today from a source close to the club is that the Tigers do not want another Tedesco situation, and they will do anything that they can to ensure that does not happen again. We lost a generational talent once. We cannot let it happen again. It is as simple as that. And look, our sentiments have been for a long time that we would probably lose Lachlan. But when you throw around $5 million over 5 years, that's enough to turn a player's head, especially when you can give him that sort of money tomorrow.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I think that the other wrinkle to this is 5 years, $1 million now might seem like a lot. But there was an article that dropped, it might have been just a social media post dropped on Fox League this morning that said that the NRL are about to shun Fox, Channel 9 and DAZN and sign a deal for massive money with ESPN and Disney+. So 2028, be the richest TV rights deal the NRL's ever received. That money flows down to the clubs in the form of salary cap. So and with 2 new clubs also entering the fray, if we sign him on $1 million a year right now for the next 5 years, in 3 years' time, that might look very cheap.
Yep. And it ensures that, look, the Luai options, I'm not even going to talk about. I think you'll take him, no dramas. But it ensures that we have our spine future-proofed. I don't think Talon's going anywhere. Jareen Buller's locked up till 27. You lock Galvin up till 20. You've got Luai locked up, providing he stays around off that option. You've got clarity, and that helps in the player market. It helps with drawing up your salary cap, and stability and time together in the spine typically does deliver success. And with the players that we do have around Lachlan, and with his current development trajectory, it's very, very exciting. Anything else you want to touch on?
No, I think that we're in agreement. I know that there'll be plenty of people out there that'll disagree. To you all who think Lachlan Galvin showed you enough this year for you to say that he's not as good as you thought he was, I say, get a clue, motherfucker. You have no idea what you're talking about. And you know exactly who I'm talking to. Yeah, you. Go.
Look, again, we can talk about trajectory in terms of Latu and Lachlan. I don't want to buy into that today. This is solely about value and looking down the track.
Can I ask you a question?
Should he accept it? Hit me.
Would you rather pay $1 million a year for Lachlan Galvin or $1 million a year for Dylan Brown?
Okay, that was actually, I want to give flowers to somebody on X who said something.
I love this FPO guy, man. He's giving me so much stuff to throw up on the stream.
Nice. Okay, so
I heard that too. Hey, that's a real rumor. You're not talking shit. That's real. I know that's true. That is true. That almost happened last year. That was real. He went to Penrith and he said, I feel like I'm not on enough of a salary. I don't want to be anymore. That happened 100%. And it was 100% because he wanted to follow Jerome to the Tigers. 100%.
Watch this space. Jackstar 958487772 on X said to me, Gus said it right last night. $1 million is stupid to pay a kid, but it would likely be better for his development to be on something a bit closer to 700K. That said, if you give me the choice between Lachlan Galvin or Dylan Brown for 10 years at 13 mil, I know what I'm taking, and there's every chance that $1 million a year looks a bargain in 2029. And I completely agree with that take. At the end of the day, look, Dylan's performances currently, I don't think are befitting of the player that he is.
I do.
Or he will be at Newcastle. I don't believe that.
I do.
But in saying that, you look at what Galvin is producing as a 19-year-old kid, where he's going and where he should be in a few years, and the choice is clear. So, and if you want to talk Latu Galvin debate, Lockie's a known commodity. So,
I think they know exactly what they're doing. I think we're in agreement. Like, you could look at the performances that he's putting in right now, and you could go, wow, this is really overpay. But I follow enough NFL and enough US sport to know that when something like what happens with Dylan Brown happens, it resets the market, to use NFL lingo. So if you look at like the other halves that are going to be off contract with him, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that yet, but let me just bring up some of these names. So we've got not very many. Jamal Fogarty, Jerome Hughes. They're really the only two established halves that are off contract with Lachlan Galvin.
both of which will be retired within 4 years.
So yeah, the point there is, like, he is the commodity for this next signing period if he goes to market. $1 million is actually, he'll get more. He would get more on the open market, I reckon.
Sure, but if he signs with us now, we can make him a millionaire overnight.
Yeah, I agree. It probably looks like a fantastic deal for him and his family. They're gonna have a real hard time saying no to it. Real hard time. And you know what? Isaac Moses is probably gonna try.
Yep, and you know what? If they say no, you can now put a contingency plan in place. You move Lachlan to 13 or the back row. You prioritise Latu, and you go from there. But
and you go and get Jock Madden and bring him home. Jock Madden.
you love Jock. Yeah, look, let's just wait and see what happens. Time will tell. But either way, Lachlan's going to be a very, very rich man. I just hope he's a very, very rich man in black, white, and gold. Pathways. Cup had a stinker. There was some moments in the first half where they were leading. They didn't last too long. Disappointing to go down. But ultimately, this was a very, very strong Warriors side, even if they were missing Tamari Martin and Bunty. And ultimately, their class shone through. You got anything to say?
I have only got this to say. Just that. I didn't see the game, but apparently Charlie says that Luke absolutely brained it.
He did. He was absolutely the standout. The kamikaze runs, as NBWT called them, were absolutely on show. 70 minutes, 14 runs for 148 metres, 6 tackles made, 1 missed, and just the 1 error. It was a good return to football after some time off from a concussion. Do I think that he's been blooded too early? As much as I love the bloke, yes. But ultimately, this is something that Marshall tends to do. I don't think he places too much emphasis on form in reserve grade. If he sees what he needs to see, then he'll pull you back up. So,
what was the deal with the sin binning?
Say again.
What was the deal with the sin binning?
He had a punch on with Dayon Amidyuani after our try, after the Tuatupo try. Falsey had some good moments, kicks really well. He's actually smart. We don't typically see brains from our lower grades fullbacks, halfbacks. He
Halfbacks.
kicked really nicely, landed it on the centre's head for two-2 to score. And Maxi Lyles had a really nice individual moment. But look, this team is struggling, and I think that your assessment of the coach a couple of weeks ago in the playing group wasn't wide of the mark. And our boy Timmy Johansson is working very, very hard there, and Kit's doing good things in limited minutes. But at the moment, this side looks a little bit wayward, and I'm really, really concerned.
What's the what I'm just looking at the stats here, and like apparently Tristan Hope got top fantasy scorer, but he didn't appear on the score sheet. He must have had a good game. What got his fantasy score up so high?
He made 45 odd tackles.
One missed. Wow.
Yeah. Look,
Six kicks,
it was mainly in base stats, mate. There are a few kicks.
24 pickups.
Yeah. Look, after his try scoring feats the week previous, he was probably guilty of trying to get over the line a few too many times.
Right.
This Warriors team is a class above, and they showed that. There's some really bloody good players amongst those boys, and yeah, their class shone through. They're a good club at the moment. The Warriors, they're very, very good.
How'd old Tim Joe play? Tim Joe go all right?
Yeah, Tim did his thing, got through his work, worked very, very hard in defence, and really tried to influence the game. But 28 minutes, which is pretty disappointing.
Wow, that's super low.
Yeah. Admittedly, I didn't watch the entire game. I know Adam listens, so he might have a little bit more info for us. But yeah, 28 minutes, that's not typically befitting a Tim Johansson. So I'm not too sure what happened there. Flegg had a 20-all draw. Because I was on my way to the game, I watched bits and pieces. The first half was, there's no other way of putting it, it was atrocious. We dropped so much ball, invited so much pressure. And it just wasn't good enough. But they improved in the second half, and their defensive resolve was incredible to watch. I'm pretty sure they held up the Warriors over the line a handful of times. Which is awesome for an under-21s team, and particularly a grade where defense isn't a characteristic of any side. Look, if they cut these errors, and they get the players coming up from SG Ball and some players coming down from State Cup, like Max Lyles, they'll win some games. They'll do okay. Max Tautua had an absolute stormer, sort of created some tries, was a handful on hit-ups, did some good things defensively. And the forgotten man from our 2022 Harold Matthews winning side, Jeremiah Liadagaga, he had a good game. He was really, really good. Had a great first stint. Did some really, really good things. Was hard to put down and worked hard in defence. And yeah, he's always been a guy that's rated by Gallant, the Pathways staff. So it was awesome to see him, really, really stand out. Anything else?
I'm just looking at the New South Wales Cup team list, and something interesting seems to be going down. They've dropped Lachlan Broadalow to the reserves.
Lachlan hasn't been playing.
Oh no, he's been playing flag. He's come up to the reserves. Eli El Zakem is on the interchange bench. I've never seen him before. I'm just looking it up. He played for Castleford last year, full season.
Yeah, he was in Q Cup and then England, and he sort of jumped around between the Roosters.
He's a back rower.
Parramatta, he's a back rower. This is similar to the Charbel Tassapale signing that we made last year. Another bloke from Cass. Tigers in the Super League.
He played every game for them last year by the looks of it.
Yeah, interesting signing. A guy that probably had upside a couple of years ago, but probably didn't get the time and reps that he needed in an NRL squad. But he might provide a bit of spark off the bench this week against the Sea Eagles. Who knows?
Well, hopefully. I mean, if he spent the whole year in the ESL and he's in the back row, then he's got there's value there for him if he is good enough. I see a new face in the flag team in the form of a guy named Riley Barglick. Have you ever seen him before?
He was our fullback on the weekend. He had some good touches, did some good things. But yeah, I don't know too much about him. We've seen him pull these flag fullbacks out of nowhere.
What happened to Cameron Kinnan? I would have thought he would have been.
Cameron did a shoulder, and I believe he's still coming back from surgery. So keep an eye on that. But who's in this side this week? Mitch, the Tautua twins
Pretty
remain.
much the same team as named,
Yeah,
except
it
the
is.
the 13 is a blank.
Yes, it is. All right, where else? Wes Matt's had the bye, thank goodness. Siatame Havea is back this week, which is unreal. Last game of the year, I think, against the Raiders. Not expecting miracles, but hopefully a good performance to round out the year. Balmain Harold Matthews went down to the Knights over the weekend, but Christian Azzi, I know I wrap him pretty much every week, but far out. The individual try he scored was nuts. Go and have a look on the New South Wales Rugby League site in the Harold Matts highlights. Steps two plays, goes around the fullback. It was beautiful. A few minutes later, he backed it up with a great kick, which led to an error. Put it right in the 10-by-10 box. We pushed them back into the in-goal area. There was a knock-on from the Newcastle left winger, and we scored our second. Look, unfortunately, they didn't get it done, but look, a lot of this Balmain side is a year young, and they'll be better for the run, and hopefully they can really, really improve. Balmain SG Ball had a loss, a pretty bad loss, and that might condemn them to the bottom 8. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, I think that they have to win now. Like it's the last round. Looking at the other teams around them, I believe that if they lose, they can still make the 8 with a loss, but only if an upset or two happens. Just having a quick look at the ladder to jog my memory. They are currently still in the 8, so other teams have to win to get ahead of them. The Bulldogs are 1 point behind them, and they're playing Souths, who are a good side. So the Dogs would have to cause an upset to go ahead. The Magpies are still in with a shot. So if the Tigers lose and the Magpies win against Canberra, who are a good side, but win a bull, like Canberra have had a couple of losses this season, the Magpies can jump the Dogs and the Tigers into the top 8. The Knights, though, are playing the Dragons, and that's the big threat. So the Dragons have won 1 game this season. So the Knights are a very good chance of winning that game. They have equal points differential to the Magpies. So even if the Magpies win and the Tigers lose, the Knights, being that they have the easier game, might jump the Magpies on points differential. So, yeah, the Tigers really need to win to make sure they make the 8. Because they have, even though they've won 5, lost 3, they have a minus 40 points differential. Because they've been thoroughly flogged in the games they've lost. So they definitely need to win. Or draw. A draw would also be enough against the Steelers, who are only 1 point ahead of them. So very, very, on paper, even game, except for the fact that obviously the Tigers have lost 2 in a row. So they are not coming into this game in the most fine nick. I feel like one of our SG Ball sides played the Steelers not long ago.
The Maggies didn't beat them. It was very much an attacking shootout, and West don't typically lose those games.
No, the Maggies flogged them.
Yeah, they did.
The Maggies beat them 42-14 a few weeks ago.
Yeah, they won and won well.
Yeah, so
Yeah, look, Balmain are going to have to find what made them such a good side at the beginning of the year. I think that'll be an absolute cracking game.
Yeah, it's a yeah, definitely watchable. Sign up to Bar TV Sports. Get your eyes on that game. Let me see, what's the order of the games this week? So we've got Magpies play Raiders 10:45 a.m. on Saturday morning. The Dogs Rabbitohs game is around the same time. And then the Tigers game it kicks off 15 minutes after that. So it's all going to be happening at the same, and the Dragons Knights game. It's 2. So all the games that matter are all happening at the same time. So
I'm feeling an NFL red zone.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? Like all the other games are actually irrelevant to the top 8 composition. It's those 4 games that are all relevant, all kick off within half an hour of each other. Hammondville Oval for the Dogs versus the Rabbitohs. In Canberra, Raiders play Magpies. The Tigers are at home at Leichhardt Oval. So you might want to get down to Leichhardt Oval and root for the Balmain Tigers, fans. It's 11 a.m. Saturday morning. Must-win game against the Steelers.
Speaking of, yes, absolutely. Speaking of must-win games, West have got to do it themselves. You mentioned it before, but they're playing a very, very good team in the Canberra Raiders. Look, it was a very, very topsy-turvy game against Manly. They went down 12-0. They blew them off the park, as they tend to do sometimes when they go down by a try or two. And then Manly scored too late to bring the scoreboard back closer than what it should have been.
Manly not a good team in this grade though.
No, when Anthony was out with a shoulder injury. So, look, it's been an up and down year for the Maggies, and I think we'll probably try and get Mitch Tyler back on to sort of talk about the season and what went wrong and what went right. But yeah, it's going to be a tough assignment for those boys, but.
It's going to be a trippy situation. So, like, the Dogs are on 9 points, one behind the Tigers, and their game starts first. The Magpies to Raiders game kicks off 15 minutes later, so they'll be hitting the field. They won't know what's going on. They'll be hitting the field thinking that they have a chance, but by the time the game ends, they might not have a chance anymore, because if the Dogs win, they're out of the running. And then the Dragons Knights game and the Tigers Steelers games kick off 15 minutes later as well. So, yeah, if the Dogs win, the Magpies come off the field with a win. They'll be like, oh, stuff that. Dogs lose, Magpies come off the field with a win. They got a hairy 15 minutes of game time watching those other two games.
A true SG ball clusterfuck.
It's cool. I reckon we should see if we can sit down in front of YouTube and live stream some shit, maybe.
Yeah, let's do that. We did not talk about Laurie Daly Cup Grand Final. Those boys went down early by a couple of tries, managed to fight their way back into it with a couple of tries to Classy Glassy, who was exceptional, I must say. He was so good. And really looked like, we were on top there for a little period. But it must be said, the individual brilliance of Jack Talbot and Bo Baldock, who were the fullback and 5'8" for the Illawarra South Coast Dragons, that's what got them home at the end, and that was what was enough to sink us. We defended really, really well on our line to begin the game, but eventually the possession told. And the Dragons scored a few tries. But look, again, these boys, they did exceptionally well to make the grand final. They can hold their heads high, and I'm really, really interested to see, which one of these boys filter through to SG ball and higher on as this time goes on. So hold your heads high, lads, and all the best. Lisa Fiaola, we had a win against the Bears, 28-16. Tasha Gale did the same with a 28-plot win. I'm not sure where the girls are on the ladder. I'll check that for you now. Tasha Gale, we're third.
Whoop.
With a 5-2 record.
They've got a couple of the I'm pretty sure, like when I looked at the team list, they've got a couple of the NRLW girls playing in that side.
Well, that's good. That builds cohesion. And Fiaola, we're 5-2 as well. We're sitting fourth. So I think that finals aren't far away for that comp. Yep, this is the last round of the regular season. So
yeah, they've got Evie McGrath playing at 6. She debuted in the NRLW last year, and she's a New South Wales under 20s player. And she was.
Here we got some young girls coming through. Then that's very exciting. Anywho, good luck to all our pathway sides this week. Good luck to our very, very young West Tigers first grade team. I am very, very excited to see what we put up. And as you said, it's another temperature check. This is against an amazing team on paper, against a coach that hates us for very obvious reasons. Hi, Madge.
Madge tuning into West Tigers Faithful, just checking out the old Tigers, hearing what a couple of buffoons have to say.
Imagine Madge hate watching us.
I'm gonna go find Madge's text his phone number. His phone number, and I'm gonna send him a link to this.
Do me a favor and send me that, and I'll send and I'll put the screenshot on X. Speaking of, follow us on X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We actually post. Please do so. We interact with everybody pretty much on X. So Tigers Faithful is our handle. Do us a favor. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play. Subscribe, hit the bell, do all those things. And thank you so much for your support, and thank you, Pinch, and
And
we'll
if anybody else out there runs a small business and wants some exposure, my children need feeding. So you can give us some money and we'll say funny things about your business too.
and my future children will benefit from that as well.
Mm.
West Tigers Faithful, episode 26. Thank you so much for your time, guys. We'll speak to you soon.
Oh yeah, the song. Hang on.